And joining me right now, as you could probably see, is Gavin McInnes. And Gavin, of course, does the Gavin McInnes Show on CompoundMedia.com. Hello, sir.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Well, you were right in the middle of it last Thursday, of course, after Ann Coulter was canceled by Berkeley, and then they said she was reinstated, but they wanted to give her a different date, and she was going to come on her original date. She did not come. You went to Berkeley. I won't say in her stead, but you went there and you got a hold of her speech and you read the speech she would have read. How did all that come about?
I spoke to her on the phone quite a bit, and I begged her to come, but she said, no, it's over. It didn't work out. And I kind of understand her mentality. You know, you write, what is it now, 10 bestsellers, you sell millions of books. You should be treated with a little more respect when it comes to the epicenter of free speech, Berkeley, the place where it all began in America. And she wasn't getting treated like that, and she just said, you know, we're not doing it anymore. Berkeley backed out. Young Americans for Freedom acquiesced was her word. And so I said, well, give me the speech, and I'll go down and read it, because I can't have this victory for them. I just couldn't live with it. I need the history books to say that her speech happened. Now, you can say, well, it happened, but it wasn't her saying it. Okay, as long as there's some obfuscation there, I'm happy. It can't go in the books as a victory for them.
Okay, so you read the speech, and what was the crowd like, and what was the security like, and you know, because there were threats of violence for that event as well.
Oh yeah. Well, what I think the police did is they demanded Antifa, the anarchist kids. I think they demanded they unmask, and that just kills their whole raison d'etre, because they're all about anonymity. So when you take away their masks, they have to be themselves, and so they were sequestered into a corner. The ones that were willing to show their faces. And then the mob that was surrounding me was Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, Alt Knights, like 150 people facing away from me because they were there for safety. So it's the only speech I've ever done where I was looking at mostly backs. And they did make sure we were safe. We went there, did the speech, good reception, had a great time. I was whisked out of there like I was Diana Ross or something. People were screaming my name. I had to be thrown into a Chevy S10 Blazer. And then we went to some bar and just got drunk and beat each other up for our Proud Boys initiative.
I'm not sure if Diana Ross would need to be whisked away anymore, but nonetheless, you made a comment, I believe, if I could believe the press, that you said you were a little disappointed that Coulter's speech wasn't more hard-hitting.
Well, I actually thought it was too hard-hitting. Maybe that they got that backwards. But at one point she goes, the problem with immigrants is 15% of them are on welfare. She goes, what if you were buying food and 15% of it had rat feces in it? And then the next line is, we don't need any more rat feces. And I was like, Anne, could you have chosen a slightly less incendiary analogy than immigrants are rat feces? But that's Anne. She talks in public the way she talks in bars. And my job was to talk the way Anne talks in public. And I did. And her speech happened, despite all this fascism to shut her down.
This mayor of Berkeley, who has reported ties to this violent group, once again, he's blaming the conservatives for violence. He's blaming the conservatives for everything. How on earth does this guy, if these ties are accurate, and you could weigh in on that, how does he get to be mayor and stay as mayor? And I've heard and seen repeated reports and claims that police at other events, like the first Berkeley event with Milo, stood by and did nothing. He's the mayor. That makes him responsible for that.
There's a lot to come out right now. I mean, we're starting with little tidbits like he's friends with Yvette Fularka on Facebook, but we're starting to see ties to BAM by any means necessary. And we're starting to, the Young Americans for Freedom claim they have proof that there was direct orders to the police to stand. And there was weird stuff with my boys when they were getting arrested at the previous one where the cops said, look, we can't tell you what's going on here, but we really appreciate what you're doing. And I thought, isn't it so weird that these anarchists have the mayor and the police involuntarily, on their side? I mean, we've always had esoteric rabble-rousers, but this is the first time that the authority has been on their side. Berkeley has been completely co-opted.
Well,
what do they make it? They want you to pay a broadcast fee.
Yeah.
All right, now speaking of Milo, You know, he's out. He's got this produced video out there now.
I'm with him right now. We're having lunch right now.
Well, I'd love to say hello to him when we're finished, but he's coming back. He's coming back any day now in this month of May, and he says, you know, it's an Elton John song, "The Bee is Back." Are you surprised that he's, you know, I guess he took some time away to re-energize or whatever, but I think it's a great thing that he's coming back.
Yeah, he's tenacious, he's a survivor, and he's our generation's Oscar Wilde. So we need him. We need him because within every joke, as George Orwell said, there's a tiny revolution. And he started a tiny revolution here. And even, I saw this Richard Spencer video the other night, and even the far left, the far right, the nuts on the far right, admit that he's helpful to society because he stirs things up. You know, sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I think we all need him. I think the left needs him. I think gays need him. Women need him. All this feminism is cancer stuff is good for women, ultimately.
Okay, let me ask you how you feel in the wake of everything that Ann went through, and you went through at NYU, and you went through at Berkeley here, and Milo went through. Nonetheless, in New York State, a nonprofit college, public college, is hosting a anti-Israel Linda Sarsour, who reportedly is pro-Sharia law and anti-Israel. Yet she's going to a public college in New York to give the commencement in June, and nobody bats an eye.
She was married at 17 by her parents, and she's a feminist icon. She's part of an arranged marriage. She believes that women's vote in court, their say, is worth half of a man's. She thinks that within the parameters of Sharia law, a man can beat his wife. There's no such thing as a man raping his wife. This is her dogma, and she's a hero to the left because the left is all about destruction. And that's why I say that everyone needs Milo, because he's the anti-Linda Sarsour. By the way, this is also the same city that had Ahmadinejad do a talk at Columbia. This is a Holocaust denier who thinks that there's no gays in Iran and thinks 9/11 was an inside job. He gets a say. But Ann Coulter, who I challenge all these critics to find one sentence in one of her books that is factually incorrect. So it's a real topsy-turvy world with the left, where they're in bed with the people who want to destroy the West and ultimately destroy them too.
What did you think
Linda Sarsour wants to destroy feminists.
Yeah, well, it is amazing. It really is. What did you think of Hassan Minhaj? I wonder if he's related to Nicki, but what did you think of his performance, if you even watched it?
I think it was the worst Muslim bombing we've seen in America since the first World Trade Center attacks. It was terrible, and it didn't hurt as many people, this bomb, but seeing him bomb, it made me want to ask what the Homeland Security is doing with these Muslims going. No, but he was clearly an affirmative action hire. He was terrible. All his jokes too were sort of factually incorrect, like Trump is against free speech and he's going to be arrested. He even called himself an immigrant. He was born in San Francisco. So it was just a really pathetic hodgepodge of weak jokes, and it shows you what happens when you let affirmative action surpass meritocracy. He wasn't there because he's funny. He's there because he's the token Muslim in comedy today.
And did you ever hear of him before that?
No, yes. Yeah, I know him through the comedy scene. He was a UCB kid who wasn't remotely political in LA, who had no career. And then women took over The Daily Show, and they said, we want an apartheid guy. Let's get Trevor Noah in here. We want tons of gays, tons of women. Is there any Muslims? And someone goes, I think there's one new kid in LA. Get him on a plane. We need him up here. Like they're more determined to promote diversity than comedy. And their company's called Comedy Central. It should be called White Guilt Central.
Let me ask you this. A lot of play being made, well, two things, but number one, Donald Trump told Bloomberg today, not Michael Bloomberg, but the news network, that he would meet with Kim Jong-un under the right circumstances. He'd be honored to do so. And, of course, the media is going nuts, so much so that I've heard them say, well, Barack Obama said he would do all that stuff with foreign leaders, but he never did. Well, he hugged Hugo Chavez, he met with Castro, and he begged the Ayatollah to meet with him. He just wouldn't do it. So how do you feel about this strategy on the part of Trump saying, yeah, I'd meet with them under the right circumstances? Is there anything wrong with that?
I don't think so. And that's always been a gripe, especially from the right, where GOP establishment types hate us speaking to corrupt dictators. you can speak to them. You just put them in their place. So I want to see him talk to Kim Jong-un and tell him, you better watch what you're doing, you little brat, or you're going to explode.
Yeah, well, that would be something. And one more on this spending bill that was reached, an agreement reached to fund the government through September. Of course, they have to vote on it. And here's the thing, Gavin, Planned Parenthood is funded. Everything we think of being funded that we don't want funded is funded, but the wall's not funded. NPR is funded. But, you know, I mean, what is wrong with Republicans?
They're wimps, and that's why Trump won, because he was an anti-establishment Republican, and the GOP, National Review, the monocle-wearing establishment hates him. So they're not patriots to me. They're snobs. They're just as bad as the far left in many ways because they think they're better than everybody. But we got to give Trump some time here. It's only been 100 days. Look at the wall. You know, look at how long it took Obama to throw our money at Solyndra and that stupid healthcare website. Trump's not even in the same universe as his blunders. So let's give it more than 100 days.
Sir, we appreciate your time, and we will keep watching the Gavin McInnes Show. Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much. Say hello to Milo.
Okay, Milo wants
to say hi. Hey!
Hi, Pumpkin. How are you?
How are you? Good to see you again. All right. We'll speak to you both soon.
See you, buddy.
Take care.